If you are aiming to sound more natural in German conversations, there is one little trick that makes a huge difference. Filler words, or so-called modal particles. These are small words like doch, mal, ja, schon, etc. While they don't change the core meaning of a sentence, they do add tone, emotion, and attitude. Things like surprise, reassurance, hesitation, casualness, or emphasis. And while you don't have to use them to be understood, they're everywhere in spoken German. Native speakers use them constantly to soften statements, show emotion, or make what they're saying sound more natural and less like a robot. Think of them as the secret spices in real-life German. Easy to miss at first, but they make a big difference in flavor. So in this video, we'll break down a few of the most common ones that you'll hear all the time. And if you're new to the channel, hallo und herzlich willkommen bei Speak Fluent German. My name is Salome. I'm a German teacher, polyglot, and the founder of the German Fluency Academy, where I help learners go from zero to confident and conversational in German. If that's your goal too, feel free to check out the free taster lesson I've linked for you in the description box below. All right, let's get started with my favorite one, doch. Doch is used for contradiction, reassurance, or emphasis. Doch is one of the most powerful little words in German. It doesn't translate easily into English, but it plays a huge role in conversations, especially when you want to contradict, reassure, or remind someone of what they said. At its core, doch is used to push back against a negative statement or assumption. Think of it as the German way to say, yes, I do. Well, actually, that's not true. Or on the contrary. But what doch really expresses depends a lot on the context and the tone of the sentence. That's why the best way to learn modal particles in general is by seeing them in lots of real-life examples. So let's take a look at doch to contradict a negative assumption. So use doch when someone says or implies something negative or incorrect that you want to firmly but politely disagree. Zum Beispiel, du hast keine Zeit. Doch, ich habe heute Nachmittag frei. Du sprichst kein Deutsch. Doch, ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch. It also works very well as a one-word comeback. Quick, direct, and very German. Zum Beispiel, du bist kein Fußballfan. Doch. Du kannst nicht kochen. Doch. And you can also use doch to answer negative yes or no questions. So in English, we say yes even when responding to a negatively phrased question. So for example, aren't you coming? Yes, I am. Okay, but German needs doch in this case. Ja would just sound like an agreement with the negative part. Let's take a look at an example. Kommst du nicht mit? Doch, ich komme gleich. Magst du das nicht? Doch, ich mag es sehr. You can also use doch to remind someone of what they said, often with a hint of surprise or confusion, and sometimes even with a tone of reproach. Zum Beispiel, du wolltest doch lernen. Like, you wanted to study, didn't you? Or, but you said you wanted to study. What doch adds here is that in this sentence, doch doesn't contradict a negative. Instead, it's being used to remind someone of what they said or planned, with a slight tone of surprise, confusion, and reproach. The doch adds this subtle subtext of, I'm reminding you of something you already know or said. Alles klar? Next modal particle we'll take a look at is ja. Ja expresses surprise, emotion, or shared knowledge. The German word ja is often known as yes, but as a modal particle, it takes on a completely different role. It doesn't mean yes in this context. Instead, it's used to add emotional tone, emphasis, or signal that something should be obvious or already known. Depending on your tone, the context, and then even your relationship with the listener, ja can express a lot of things. For example, surprise, recognition, mild sarcasm, frustration, a told you so tone, and sincerity or emphasis. I know it's a little bit difficult to wrap your head around it in the beginning, so let's take a look at some practical examples to see how ja works as a modal particle in real speech. And as we go through these examples, also listen to the tone I'm using. Number 1, expressing surprise or realization. Das ist ja verrückt. Here, ja, basically it means you just found out something surprising or hard to believe. Du bist ja früh heute. That expresses your surprise at someone's unexpected punctuality. Number 2, pointing out something obvious or already known. Pff, das war ja klar. Well, that was obvious. This is used when the outcome was predictable and it can sound sarcastic or resigned. Ich hab's dir ja gesagt. Here you're basically expressing, I did warn you, like I told you so. Du hast ja keine Ahnung. You seriously have no idea. Here, ja emphasizes the speaker's strong frustration with the other person. Number 3, showing shared knowledge or reminding someone. Wir haben ja morgen frei. Remember, we have tomorrow off. Das weißt du ja. You know that, don't you? Number 4, ja can also be used to express sincerity and emphasis. Das ist ja interessant. Like, that's really interesting. Or, das ist ja toll. That's really awesome. I go even deeper into how real-life conversations sound and how people actually speak in small talks. In my free beginners workshop, we break down a full conversation and help you train your ear to understand naturally spoken German at real-life speed. If you're interested in joining, check out the link below. This next particle that we'll take a look at is incredibly common in spoken German. Mal. And mal is used for softening, casualness, and friendliness. It's one of those little words that don't translate into English but adds a huge amount of nuance to everyday speech. At its core, mal helps to make your German sound more relaxed, friendly, and natural. It softens requests, adds casual immediacy, and makes interactions feel less like orders and more like polite suggestions. So what does mal actually do? Depending on the tone and situation, mal can express politeness without sounding formal, a sense of ease or no big deal, or it can also be used as just real quick or do you have a second? All right, let's take a look at how it shows up in real life German. Mal as just real quick. Komm mal her. Come here for a second. Hör mal zu. Listen up for a second. Warte mal kurz. Hold on for a sec. Without mal, these sentences can sound too direct or even abrupt. And with mal, they are way more natural. Number 2, mal used as softening commands or requests. Zum Beispiel, gib mir mal das Salz. Zeig mal. Schau mal. And number 3, mal can be used to signal a casual tone in a conversation. Like for example, ich muss mal mit dir reden. I need to talk to you for a minute. I mean, nobody likes hearing this sentence, so mal here kind of takes away this heavy meaning of it, right? Than just a plain ich muss mit dir reden, which could feel very serious or dramatic. Now, another question you might be asking yourself, okay, that's great. Now I know when to use it, but where does mal go in a sentence? Mal usually sits in the middle field of a sentence after the verb and before the object or other complements. So in general, you can remember verb plus mal plus the rest of the sentence. So here is my bonus tip for how to go about learning German modal particles. Because they're not easy to translate and also they're not straightforward rules but rather nuances, the best way to learn them is by first of all focus on listening. The best way to get a feel for modal particles is to hear them in real conversations. In my free workshop for beginners, we break down an entire small talk situation, so I highly recommend checking that out if you want to learn more. You can also watch German shows, listen to podcasts, or observe native speakers. And don't try to translate word for word. Just pay attention to when and how these little words pop up. And instead of trying to memorize rules, collect examples. Notice where the particle appears in the sentence and how the speaker sounds when using it. Is it playful? Is it softening a command? Are you emphasizing something obvious? This helps you ultimately build your internal language feel. Tip number 2, understand before you use. I often get this question from my students, should I use modal particles or not? And my answer to that usually is, well, only if you're confident you're using them in the right way. Because if used incorrectly, it can make you sound a little off. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't try, but start by understanding them passively first. Get comfortable recognizing what they express when you hear them, and then practice with short examples. Right? Don't force it. Try to grow into it. Modal particles are like seasoning in spoken German. You don't need them technically to make yourself understood, but they do make your speech sound more natural over time. So start by understanding them when you hear them, then slowly try using them in your own speech or writing, and let it feel natural. I hope this makes sense and you have found this lesson helpful. If you want to sound more natural in everyday German, I've made a video on some common textbook phrases and how to swap them for more natural real-life alternatives. You can check it out right here. Das ist alles für heute. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen und bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss!